Right, good afternoon. We're in the final stretch, the final sprint to the finishing line. So again, I started off this morning by saying it's a survivors' party, but it really is now the survivors' party. But we've got well, I think it's a fascinating subject. Again, I might be slightly biased, talking about WEMFund work in Ukraine, which started off as Medics for Ukraine, and it's kind of become a lot more formalized and more significant in what we're doing. I'm slightly conscious always of not taking this stage too much to talk about our own stuff, because it might seem to be promotional. But however, I think there are two elements to what we're doing. One, Luca and I were horrified by the invasion of Ukraine. It felt like history itself was being turned back 60 years. And unlike most natural disasters or catastrophes, we could drive to Ukraine. We could do that with a minivan or, get there relatively straightforward. We could take action. And we decided to take action. There's a sort of grassroots initiative with the original aim of raising £100,000 and being in Ukraine for 6 months. That's kind of how long we thought we would be there. And then, the war would be over, or there'd be some sort of conclusion. Clearly that is not the case. And I'm not giving you any spoilers there, because you know that full well yourself. But that £100,000, we've kind of overachieved just slightly. And we're on about 4.4 million now in terms of trauma supplies and training delivered to Ukraine, which is, to be quite honest, it's an unfortunate honor, if that's the right phrase to use. So one segment of this talk is about you too can have impact. One can't always rely on the large agencies to react to in a way that you feel appropriate. And within this community, you have very specific skills that can be applied to action. And Ukraine itself is a massive country. When we were originally working down in Hannaford on the front line, when we crossed the border from Poland, it would take us 20 hours by train to get there. It's a big country, too big for one single agency or charity, NGO to properly cover. And certainly at the beginning of and Luca will probably put this better than me because he has that Italian flair, that the large agencies were a little bit sort of frozen in action because it's such a big country, so many challenges, and it's being invaded by a superpower. But Luca and I, in perhaps blissful ignorance, were able to react really quickly. And with access to an amazing medical community, able to deliver laser-sharp support in terms of the trauma supplies that we could deliver to Ukraine itself and disseminate across the country with the support of people who are, companies like the ones exhibiting upstairs. And that's morphed over time because that need has lessened. It's still great, but it's lessened. But we've then started doing TCCC, so Tactical Combat Care Training, to different bodies of people, including civilians and military, hospitals and stuff. And Luca and I had to, well, certainly I did, I had to do a litmus test. I felt awkward, if you don't mind me saying, Roman, that WEM was supporting essentially the Ukrainian military. But I came to the realization that actually we weren't. What we were supporting was the medical community, the civilian medical community, who are now in uniform, and actually training people my son's age, and it could be my son, or sister, daughter. So that's what we've done in various places throughout Ukraine, but especially in Kherson over the last 2 years. It became increasingly risky for us there because, as has been intimated and highlighted in other talks, medics are a target, and we stood out quite a lot there. So after 2 years, we moved up to the relative safety of the Donbass, which seems like a counterintuitive statement. But there are bigger cities, there are more people, we're less identifiable, less trackable. There isn't nearly quite so much drone activity, which is the pervasive thing in Kherson. And our training has become, do you mind if I do this bit? Are you going to pick up on that later, aren't you? Okay, so our training has become much more focused, but very responsive to the demands of the community that we were training. So it now revolves around still doing TCCC, but moving on to a really highly finessed, I would suggest, prolonged casualty care course, because the Frontline grows in depth virtually every day as drone technology gets more and more. It's battlefield medicine is never going to be the same. We almost seem to have turned the clock back to the First World War. Whereas in Afghanistan, as you've been told, you could get picked up quicker by a MERT team than you could in central London by a HEMS team. Now, that is no longer the case. You know, prolonged casualty care in Ukraine means prolonged casualty care, 24, 72, sometimes a week, sometimes longer in terms of your extraction. It's a very different type of medicine. And then drones are the thing. And as a consequence, there are a lot more maxillofacial injuries because people are looking up at them to try and shoot at them, trying to see where they are. So, and that's a skill that's perhaps missing in Ukraine because it's such an emerging and developing and a very specialised field. And we're very lucky to have Berger, who's been doing the expertise in dentistry, leading on that. And the second bit is sort of battlefield surgery, because we've got a pretty eclectic community of people who are used to delivering this type of training. And because it's quite high level, you know, the number of people able to deliver that training gets increasingly small. So that's kind of our focus now, and it will remain our focus for the next sort of 12 months. And we've, a couple of days ago, got funding that secures us for the next year. I wish I could tell you who it is, but the Lord of the Rings won't let me. So, without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce you to Lieutenant Colonel Roman Kuziv, who I met in Dnipro. He's one of the 4 medical commanders on the front line of Ukraine. And who we have the absolute pleasure to welcome to the stage and thank him for making the journey from the front line to speak to you guys here. So, over to you, Roman.
Thank you so much. I can speak? Yeah. First of all, give me the possibility to say thank you to your country for support our country in this war and for what are you doing, and also to the World Extreme Medicine and to the Mark for what you do for us and for the Ukraine also. I have some small award for you and for what you do. It's our Cross of Care. Please, if you
Thank you, Roman.
I want to begin with something good. Thank you to you.
And to be quite honest, this is clearly a team award. It just so happens I met Roman first. But it's for, you know, definitely this is a partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you. Let me start. I think that the medicine of the war is also one of the most extreme medicines in the world, yeah? My name is Roman Kuziv. I am Lieutenant Colonel, and my position, I am the commander of the Medical Forces and Sustainment Group East. I will try to explain you how it's possible, which is our most big problems, now, for example, in the military medicine, and how we try to resolve them, first of all. Yeah? For understand the situation, operational area, and something like that, I will try to explain you. Wow. My area is, which you see in the slide, is the Medical Forces and Sustainment Group East, MFSG East. All the territory of Ukraine is divided in 4 areas like that. Our area is the area which is more involved directly into the war. This is 5 regions, approximately 10 million of the civilian peoples, and 600,000 of the military staff which is involved in the operation, in the war, in this area. I'm responsible about all what is the military medicine in this area. For the, who is military, it's maybe easy to understand, but I will try to explain. All the system is divided in 7 levels. First level, this is a point to injury, is level in which the patient, in which the soldier obtains the injury. After that, we have the casualty collection point. This is the point in which the casualty is waits for be evacuated to the next level. After that, we have XP, exchange point. You will see the distances of that, maybe better in this slide. Yeah. After that, we will have the exchange point. And here we finish with the case evac. Many of you, I think, know what is the case evac, but I will try also to. That is the processes of evacuation of the injury with using not specific medical personnel. In this evacuation will be involved just like combat medic or maybe the staff with which was this casualty in the positions. Yeah? After that, from the XP begins the medivac, medical evacuation, which is provided by the medics, doctors, nurses, paramedics, depend on the situation and the neediness of the patient. And after that, we have 4 levels of the medical treatment, like hospital levels: role 1, role 2, role 3, role 4. In our area appears something new, role 1.5. I will try to explain you why. Typical role 1, this is some medical aid point of the battalion. In our area, we have approximately 400 of this type of the facilities. After that, the second level, which we call role 1.5, this is some stabilization point in work. In work of this stabilization point is involved staff like surgeon, anesthesiologist, but they cannot provide in total the DCR and DCC, call it damage control surgery and damage control resuscitation. For that, we call them role 1.5. Is developed by the medical companies of the brigades which are involved in the war in this area. After that, the next level will be the role 2. We call them forward surgical teams. This is a group of the high-level prepared medics, surgeon, anesthesiologist, surgical nurse, anesthetist, the nurse of the anesthesiologist, and we assistant of the surgeon. It can be also involved with vascular surgeon, traumatologist, and if it's needed, neurosurgeon, depend on the situation. It's like one operational group, yeah, one operational table. We count them by the tables, and depend on the situation, we are flexible and we can involve and develop more and more groups like that. For example, one of our facilities during the one of the operations obtained mescal, this is maximum casualties per day, 520. In one point, you obtain 520 patients per day. It was needed, we developed 11 tables at the moment. 10% of the patients is always the patients which need oxygen support. They are intubated and they need to be evacuated with support of the. We don't use paramedics because our system is something different. For evacuation, we use anesthesiologists because Ukraine was post-Union Soviet country and the system of medical treatment was built to this manner. Also, our emergency physician is something different, like, for example, emergency physician from every Europe country, which you know, because in your mind, emergency physician will be the guy who can treat practically all type of the, it's like anesthesiologist, yeah, practically like anesthesiologist. In our case, emergency physicians will be more like administrator who call all anesthesiologists or traumatologists inside the department of the emergency and depend on the situation which becomes. Okay. Here you can see in the map hub how works the evacuation route. All these stages about which I was speaking, I stop in the role 2, yeah? After that we have role 3, this is a mobile hospital or typical civilian hospital which we involve in the operation because we don't have enough resource for obtain from this level for obtain so big quantity of the casualty using the military staff, and it will be not so smart to use so big quantity of the military staff if you can use the system which was built before, yeah, the civilian medical system. And in the second level will be the level of role 4. This is the top high-level medical centers, militaries, which we have in the regions, it's 2, yeah, and also the civilian hospitals which can treat the patients in the same level will be for us role 4 facilities. My presentation will consist more with the videos for explain you the situation and best understanding. Many of you, and I will concentrate me in the just in the small area of military medicine, but the most important at the moment. This is the area of case evac. We will be speaking about these 3 points: point of injury, casualty collection point, and exchanging point. I think that many of you have in your mind the imagination of the battlefield and how is provided the evacuation. And I will show you how was provided the evacuation maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, how it was. Please also look to the reaction to the staff, how they react during the situation, what happened. Any type of the reaction, and you go. This is the special operation forces. Yes, these guys are prepared for this type of the situations, but they still move and go. But now, the evacuation from the battlefield is not to this moment. It's impossible. Why? Yes, the purpose of the drones. Drones control all the area of battlefield. And also, this area goes with the time in increasement. We bring new technologies to the battlefield, enemy bring new technologies to the battlefield. And when we begin, this area maybe was kilometer. Now, in some regions, it can be 15, 20, 25 kilometers. We call it gray area. This is the area in which you cannot control the situation totally. You can be very cool prepared guy from SOF visiting 2 times gym and know all the techniques, but from the other part will be some guy who may be playing well PlayStation, 90 years old, and he will be target you at the moment in which you appear in the operational area. For that, it's totally changed all the logistic of the battlefield. We divide them, I divide this for you, for best understanding, in two categories. First category, this is the FPV drone, and we're speaking now about just the drones in the level of tactical level, because we have tactical, operational, and strategical level. Tactical, it means that they will be directly in the area of battlefield, 15, 20, 25, now to 60 kilometers. Because also we have the drones in the operational area from 50 to 100, 150 kilometers, and drone in the area strategical. It's drones which can fly in distance of thousands of kilometers. Yeah? For understand the situation, we like a country produce every day more than 500, 5,000 of the drones. This numbers was a year ago. For that I open you this information. And this is not enough quantity of the drones. It means that every day we use more than this quantity. Every day, every day, every day. Here you see the drone which we call FPV, and it's kamikaze. It means that the drone of one way, like in missile in control. And when we're speaking about the war, it's also the question of the economy. This drone can target any type of the tank, armored vehicle, any what you can imagine. Also, if we put him the optical fiber, you know, all of you know what is optical fiber, it means that you can control this drone under any type of warfare measures in distance of 16 kilometers. And flies to any type of the window, managing from any part of the 16 kilometers in radius. And the price of this drone will be $600–700 in comparing with the price of tank, like Abrams, for example, or something like that. You understand the economy of war and how it changed. Other type of the drones, this is the drones which use grenades, some other missiles for drop them. Yes, they came to the battlefield, drop the grenade, and turn to the position. These drones cannot fly in so big distance. They will be flight in maybe 10, 15 kilometers, depend on the situation, because they needed also the most best controls than the drone kamikaze. But it's other type of, it's like a reuse, 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 reuse. Also, Russians are using drones for propel toxic chemicals. They use chloropectin. This is a Soviet granate K-51. You can find this type of the granate in any... for what? For deliver this granate, drop it into the position, and the guys who are in the position, what they will do? They need to go out from the position, and in this moment they will be killed by the FPV drones, others, kamikaze FPV drones, which you see before. All these situations change the evacuation. And now you will see what happens in reality when drones are involved. But, okay, this is the case evacuation from the POA. Yeah? You see, this is the point of injury. Look, the area. Imagine how it's the times, maybe. Move. Protocols, care, no. Just emotions.
Давай, открываю. Быстро, быстро. Давай, блядь.
Now you understand why.
Накрой крышку, блядь. Держи.
Bam. It may be 40 seconds for detecting. They all are survived, all is good. It was the situation a year ago. Now, also this type of evacuation will be impossible. This type of the case evac guys will be killed in distance of 10 or 8 kilometers from the point of injury. They will be cannot came to this position for extract, and also this guy will be not can be so many times exposed to the open in the open area. Yeah, we must to look for survive some new ways how to provide this type of evacuation. And one of our innovations was the drone, which is produced by our first medical battalion. I will show you how it works. This is a platform of quadricycle with armored capsule, which permits to protect the injury during the evacuation. It can be controlled from any part of the world. We can control him directly from here. It's needed some type of staff. It's not just one person. It needed approximately from 5 to 7 persons, because this is operations which you need to plan and to provide. It was built and planned inside the medical unit. It's not the governmental project or something business. It's just the way of the medics how to resolve the situation. Yeah, I think that you understand that it's also the target, and he will be targeted in the area of, how to say, in the area of battlefield. But you must understand, and I will be turned to my phrase, it's also always the question of economy. When we use for one evacuation, for example, armored vehicle, like M113, maybe somebody you know for case evac, yeah, this is a armored vehicle, maybe approximately $500,000, yeah, and 4 people of the staff who will be involved in this operation. It's not correct at all to explain, but I always try to be diplomatic in it. If we lose the soldier in action, our government will pay to their families approximately 200,000 of the pounds. Yeah? Then it means You remember, yeah? Armored vehicle and 4 people. If we lose them in the action, it's not correct to speak by the monies, but for me it's also the possibility to explain why this is more important than other. It will be more than $1.5 million of the dollars, yes, if we lose this evacuation group. And we don't count the monies of preparation, maintaining the staff and training and also like that. And this drone is 20,000 of the dollars. It means you can multiply how many drones you can use to be an equivalent with simple evacuation. And now I will show you one of our first operations, which was Operation GWER, when we used the Maul. This is night, approximately 2 of the night, I think. Drone was sent in distance of 32 kilometers to one way and 32 to turn, with any involvement of the staff to evacuate the casualty, which was surrounded by the enemy during 33 days. We lose 2 drones before we obtain the possibility to extract the casualty, and also the proper battalion lose, I think, 4 or 5 more. You can read there. You see how it works. It's not just one man who is managing the drone. Here you see the injury, which is put to the capsule, close the capsule, and go out from the operational area. This is the commander of the battalion of this guy. And here's the XP, exchange point, where is the case evac finish, and they send the patient from the drone to the medevac. This guy was 33 days with a putted tourniquet. What we must to do in this situation, yeah, and what we try to do, and maybe what is needed to do. It's just my opinion and opinion of our colleagues. You understand that this is a technology. This is the arm, yeah, like grenades, pistol, guns, yeah. I don't want to scare you or to afraid you, yeah. But it's just the question of the time when this technology will appear in world terrorism. Imagine that some guy wants to target any type of the building, and he can be outside of the city managing the drone to fly to any type of the building and any type any type of the person, any type. What we see that, for example, and I said you using when the enemy and also we use drones in optical fiber, any type of electronic warfare measures don't work. For that, we see that the just mechanical way of influence to the drones, like we use some bullets, net bullets type for, and the propellers of the drone get tangled and he cannot fly. But this is like last measure, because you can use this type of the bullet and arm in distance of 50 meters when you're exposing to them. It's just to try, and you have maybe seconds. It's not resolve the problem at all. Yeah. Individual protection. If we look to the individual protection of the soldiers, it was built, or designed by the experience which was obtained during First, Second World War, and wars like Iraq and Afghanistan. In these wars, we will see that in prioritize was the bullet injury. Yeah, that many of these guys obtained the bullet injuries. But in our war, we obtained just 2% of bullet injury. Other 98%, this is the injury provocated by the shrapnel, and big part of them is provocated by the drones. artillery, drone, it's totally other type of the injuries. It means that maybe some type of low cavalrized uniform will be more useful than individual protection, because also, Mark says that, for example, we see many of you are medics, yeah? You understand that the face part, this is the 4.5% of the parts of the body, yeah? And when you obtain shrapnel injury, it means that in the general, you must obtain not more than this part which you expose to the explosion effect, yeah? But we obtain 21% of the injury of the face and neck. And also that is half part of the head is protected by the helmet. For that, we say that maybe new protection must be something like motorcycle helmet. Medical training. All the medical training of all the staff must have involved the drones, because you have just 2% possibility to see the enemy. According to, it's not correctly to explain about according to the injuries, but you understand the situation. Practically in 90% you will be not see the enemy in the battlefield. This is a war with not visible contact. Just in the cases of providing counteroffensive operations, yeah, when you are moving, maybe. Other big problems, this is the Geneva Convention in this war don't work. The Red Cross turned to be a Dread Cross. Nothing don't work. If the Russians will see a big quantity of the accumulation of the staff, they will target them in the monument. It will be just the question of also the economical. If they see hundreds of the people, yes, 5 minutes? Okay. For that, our other way to what we do and how to resolve the problem is go on the ground. Our facilities, about which I was speaking before, Role 2 or forward surgical teams, we try to put them on the ground using specific type of the models. At the final of my presentation, I want to say you that many of you maybe, I don't want to scare you, yeah? But I am, how to explain well for understanding? I think that the medics, yeah, and also the medics who are involved in extreme medicine, you have other type of the mind. You are a good crisis managers, you know how to react in the situation, and it's your card in which you have. For that is so important this event in which I have the pleasure to take a part. And thank you, Mark. Thank you, World Extreme Medicine. It's a pleasure for me. Thank you.
There will be opportunity for questions. Thank you very much, Roman. Really interesting presentation.
Thank you.
The thing I'm thinking about is that we are actually seeing battlefield and medical innovation as it happens. I don't know if you guys have that same feeling that I'm having here. this is where we're going, and we are in the middle of it. We are right in the thick of it, and the Ukrainians are leading the way on what war is going to look like in the next, moving forwards, basically. That was fascinating. Thank you. You overrun a little bit, so we're going to speed up. But when Roman was saying what is needed, he mentioned medical training. Okay. As World Extreme Medicine Fund, we've been on the ground since February 2022, and we basically have done a whole host of training, starting from what they needed at the time, which was basic first aid training, combat casualty care, trauma training. Roman touched on the fact that the system before the war was quite Soviet. What he tried to say with that the pre-hospital care didn't really exist much, and that's why they don't have the paramedical approach to pre-hospital care as we do. But there's been now 3 years of training, and what we have noticed, having been on the ground for so long, is that what they know more than we do when it comes to that sort of training. There's very little that we can teach them when it comes to like stop the bleed, combat casualty care, CCC stuff that is actually not very relevant when it comes to protocols based on what you've just seen. Some things are not relevant. We need to look at a different way. And we've actually been cooperating with several different organizations. One is here today, TIM, Medicaid International, where we actually got into now, we still do the basics for the ones that need it, but we're actually going into very advanced surgical training as well. And I'll let Tim speak about what they do, but we've been supporting the training side of these external fixators, for which we launched a campaign to raise at least £500,000 to be able to, you'll understand why we want that, to be able to support more with the training. Tim, please.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege and pleasure to be here, and how inspiring it is to hear your talk, and what you and your colleagues are dealing with in Ukraine is extraordinary. My name is Tim Beacon. I'm the Chief Executive and Founder of Medical Aid International. We're a social enterprise whose role in life is to support healthcare in austere environments, whether that's traditional LMICs across the world, conflict zones, or in disaster relief. And we make sure the equipment we supply and send is appropriate to that environment, delivering on the clinical objectives that it needs. Initially, I used to be an operating department practitioner, and I also worked in orthopedic medical devices, which will be appropriate to this conversation. We've always known globally that the need for external fixation is vital. And for those of you who have been involved in orthopedics, Western external fixation, one device would be about £7,500 to £10,000, and it's single use. It's absolutely ridiculous, completely unsustainable. And when you're having the casualty rates that they're having in Ukraine, it just becomes kind of untenable financially. So working with my good friend Steve Mannion, who's been here in the last couple of days, an orthopedic consultant, we designed the external fixator called the MedAidFix, which was designed with Formula One engineers. It's manufactured in the UK, so we have Western quality, British design, British manufacture at a fraction of the price. Essentially, it works out to about £500 per surgery, as opposed to about £7,500 to £10,000, achieving the same clinical objective that a Western one would do, and our one can be reused. Mark and his team at WEMF have been fantastic. They are spearheading a £500,000 campaign to raise money for this device, because external fixation is the only solution in these types of environments. So when you have ballistic injuries with extensive soft tissue injury, there is no other option, external fixation, because you've got lots of dead tissue that you've got to treat, and also in the front line, you have to do something quick and relatively straightforward, which is what external fixation is. It means you can evacuate people in a lot more easier way and reduce their pain, and everything just becomes generally much simpler. But you need to have them. That's the point. And Ukraine is so bad, they've even tried to take one off a journalist who had one on him when he was coming off the country. And you can see here, this is a tibia that's been repaired. That's with the MedAidFix doing exactly what it would do, the same as a £7,500, £10,000 external fixator for £500, and that can be reused, and it's British quality. And the scale of the injuries are enormous. We've only got 5 minutes here. This is a gunshot injury or explosive injury into the right femur, and you can see the scale of the damage. Talking to colleagues, we suspect there might be some vascular injury in there as well. So this is what they've had to construct out of the MedAidFix to stabilize the patient, almost certainly in this instance save his life. It means he can be moved, everything can be put back, can be debrided to come back later for some sort of definitive surgical repair. And you can see, in fact, we haven't got a lateral x-ray, but it has actually reduced the actual fracture significantly there in the femur. And these are relatively quick to do compared to any sort of internal fixation, which, as I say, is impossible anyway, because you've got loads of dead tissue that you've got to spend the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, cleaning and making sure that it's all gone so that you can do further surgical treatments. Just to kind of make these points, this is an ankle fracture or tibial fracture. And again, in the West, you could take your time and plate it and do something posh. With the scale and the volume of injuries that they've got in Ukraine, which is just insane. It's unprecedented in anything I've ever come across. And we've responded to the Syria conflict, every kind of major conflict in the last 20 years. It is just bonkers. And these are quick to put on, they stabilize it, takes away pain, means you can move the patient on and just sort things out when they get to a more regional hospital. These are extraordinary game-changing devices, but they run out in Ukraine. They are getting hold of Far Eastern devices which are extremely low quality, and they just, as I say, don't have them. There was this case I just briefly mentioned, a Fox journalist had one of these put on his leg, and when he was leaving the country, they tried to take it off him because they were so desperate to treat their own patients. We really need to get these devices out there. They are absolute life and limb-saving devices. And Mark's vision and the WEMF vision to raise the money to do this is absolutely extraordinary. And, because the fact of the matter is, Rowan and his team will have the resource they need. And the great thing about WEMF Medical Aid International is we get the job done. So sort of our plea is really that's sort of telling you what we're trying to do and to spread the word, really, because the need is insane and we hear it every day. So yeah, that's a very short session. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. I'd like to add to what Tim just said. Thank you, by the way. It's a fantastic, again, innovation. We're actually seeing innovation as it actually happens. We've already done some training in country a couple of times, and MedAid International has donated quite a big amount of these devices already, which we have used for training, and we have left in country. We haven't even scraped the surface of the need for it. We are getting every day, several emails asking us, when can we have more training? When can you bring more? And this is all across the country. As WEMFund, we have, because it's the cheapest part of this, we can fund all the training as much as the people can throw at us, but we are not able to fund the fixators as a small organization. So we're looking for funds, corporate funds, whatever they might be, to sustain the need out there from a training perspective, and following the same model that we were using and we use for combat casualty care. Every time we train, for example, someone on combat casualty care, we leave them with an IFAC. The idea would be every time we do a training is bring a few hundred or a few thousands of these fixators out there. We can make a difference. And don't forget, they are actually reusable, which is incredible. So thank you very much for that, Tim. And then moving forward, the last thing we want to talk about is 3 weeks ago, we just had, you've seen Roman's presentation. It's not about medicine, is it? It's about Kuziv. It's mentioned a person with a tourniquet for 33 days because they were surrounded and they couldn't actually Kuziv extricate this patient. This is where the situation is a standoff. Anyone have noticed the video? It made me think about World War I, World War II trenches. That's where they are at, and they're at a standoff. They can't get their head out because there are going to be thousands of drones that are going to get shot. So we have actually, based on their request, we actually focus our training onto prolonged casualty care, prolonged field care. So we ran our very first bespoke one for one of the elite units of Ukraine just about 3 weeks ago. And rather than me talking like I normally do here for the third year in a row, I'm actually going to have one of our volunteers, Travis, who most of you know already, has been part of the design of this specific course and delivery. He was on the ground with our team a few weeks back. Travis.
First off, thanks so much for your presentation, sir. It's amazing. So when you get on the ground, the first thing you see with the Ukrainians, they really are warriors. They're warriors, and I just want to say that. But so for us, I was approached by Luca and Mark to talk about this prolonged casualty care course and what we could put together. We're currently training in the U.S. with our special forces units to really hold casualties a lot longer. And I'm not talking about just overnight. Sometimes it's up to 5 to 7 days. So we came together with Alex Gaspar and John Apps, and then we had an American on the ground to deliver this course. But it can't just be a cookie-cutter course. You know, TCCC has its clinical practice guidelines. You follow the algorithms, it's good to go. Whenever we got on the ground, just to set the scene for you, whenever you go into Ukraine, it actually takes about 3 days by train to get across the country. When you get into the Kiev train station, you know, it looks like almost like business as usual. It's a beautiful train station. But then when you get into Sloviansk, which is the region that we worked in, which I think is around 20 kilometers from the front line, it's a whole different scene. All the cars are matte black and matte green. They all have drone detectors on top of the cars. You may still see grandma carrying her bag of her cart of groceries from the grocery store, but everyone's carrying an individual first aid kit. There's not a single person in that city that's not carrying an individual first aid kit because that city is constantly being attacked by drones. The training center that we worked in with the medics was actually their third training center because the other 2 training centers were taken out by drones. So there's a lot of things we had to follow as far as putting your phones, turning them off, putting an RFID bag. And they're actually operating off of Starlink. Starlink is actually keeping them from being detected wherever they're operating. Now, talking about this course, the way we designed it, we actually had to do a reflective training model, which is actually pretty hard to do sometimes. But how it works is, really the first day we got on the ground is I shared case studies from my 8 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, showing these soldiers what I had dealt with, and really it's just to earn trust. And I have to say that this unit was very elite. They were right up front to share their case studies with me and what they're dealing with. And sometimes, before the casualty collection point, when they're at the trench, they're actually having their combat lifesavers hold on to patients overnight. Now, these combat lifesavers only have 9 days of training, and they're out there with the soldiers doing care. So that's already an issue. And then when they leave the trench, they're getting to the casualty collection point, and they may be there anywhere from 72 hours to 5 to 7 days. Now, we go back to the problem that you talked about, sir, is they no longer can take a vehicle to get out to their casualty collection point. These medics are putting on a backpack and walking 20 kilometers just to get to their casualty collection point. So they may only be able to carry 2 liters of water and maybe some of their medical supplies, and there's a little bit of medical supplies in the casualty collection point. So that being said, they're really having to think about prolonged casualty care. And the reason that's important is they're hanging on to these patients for so long. When I say the novel things that they're doing, this unit is actually having whole blood delivered by drones to the casualty collection point. And you can imagine that. So 2 liters of whole blood and 1 liter of plasma to a casualty collection point to treat the patients. Now, the other problem is they may get the patient treated and they get them taken care of. Well, then they have to get the patient evacuated. So they have to pick up this patient and actually carry them anywhere from 10 to 20 kilometers to get off the battlefield to actually get to an ambulance exchange point. And some of the other issues that they're having is the drone warfare is so bad that they may have a swarm of drones that come in and they're able to take out that swarm of drones, but more follow and they put landmines on the ground. And I have a video, it's horrific, where the medics are actually carrying out a casualty and they walk right over a mine and they all die. Other problems they're having, we saw the amazing drone that was taking them out on vehicle, is there's trash everywhere. Remember, they've been fighting in these trenches for a long time, so there's trash everywhere, and then they also have the fiber drones, and there's fiber everywhere. So they're having to evacuate these patients through all this trash and fiber just to get them out of the conflict zone. So really, we designed this prolonged casualty care course in a reflective mode, and the big things we focused on were really just wound care, because sepsis is a big issue, because obviously, if they have a lot of shrapnel from these drones, they're getting infected, so wound care was a big one. And of course, managing the whole blood, and then really medication and pain management, how to do a ketamine drip, how to maybe add some midazolam in when they're actually cleaning out these wounds. And then lastly, really that next care when you're getting into the nursing care, putting in Foley catheters, when we're thinking about, do we have to start vasopressors? Yes, these medics are actually starting vasopressors in a hole in the ground and keeping these patients alive for 2 to 3 days. So this is really what the prolonged casualty care course focuses on, is these medics really know the how. We went there and we taught them the why, so they could actually take their how and make it even better. And I'll tell you, once again, those Ukrainians are all warriors. And I know that we're doing a lessons learned course in February, and I think that's going to be great to bring those lessons learned from Ukraine and hopefully share them with all the militaries and, of course, the extreme medics that need to take those. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to give a special thank you to another person that's here that has not had any this weekend, and that's David Stanton. He's actually been a key part of creating this specific course. He's actually been a key part of creating the scenarios, as there is a huge amount of prolonged... David, please stand up, because you are part of the team. Good. A huge part of this course, of this exchange of knowledge, we actually start calling them now, because, as I said, they have the knowledge, but they need the support. And one thing, she's not here now, we cooperate with a charity called Rescue. They do the actual clinical work on the ground. And they will say that they want us and other organizations there, not necessarily for the training, which is important, but it's for the support, for the moral support, for the fact that they don't feel forgotten. It's not on the news anymore. News have moved on, speaking about other stuff. But people are still fighting on the ground, people are still dying, and it's not looking good, basically. So the two focus for us is external fixators campaign. So if you know anyone that's got some spare cash, come and see us, come and see me. And the prolonged field care, we actually launched a course that has already got 20 people on it, and I can't believe it's already happened. In February in Cumbria, we are bringing the lessons learned from Ukraine to Cumbria. If anyone is interested, it's on the WEMF website if you want to be part of it. And we're going to have a couple of Ukrainian, at least, Ukrainian instructor. When it comes to sustainability, we're not going there. We're going there to become partners. We are partners, so we're training them to be completely independent in everything they do. So they're going to be in Cumbria teaching with us. And then anything else, Mark? Otherwise, we're going to go on questions. Oh, sorry, important, sorry. It's a course, and all the profits are going to WEMF, I should have said. So it's all run by our volunteers and so on and so forth. It's a complete different story than the normal WEMF courses, because any profit would be supporting, obviously, our work in Ukraine and potentially beyond moving forwards. And other than that, has anyone got any questions?
Is it working?
Yeah, go on.
So this is going to be a difficult question. This is going to be a psychological resilience question. I give it some preface first with lessons learned. So I was in Ukraine 2019 for the Minister of Health running the paramedic transition program. That's the first course we started doing TCCC for the Flesher program. Fast forward 22, TCCC kicked off. Obviously, that's what we focused on. And then we went into prolonged field care in 23, 24, fast forward 25, Tactical Medicine North, one of the the Ukraine NGOs. One of the problems they're having, they run most of the TCCC and prolonged field care for Ukrainian soldiers and civilians. one of the questions that they had was resilience. How do we teach resilience? We've gotten to the stage where we're innovating, we're doing new technologies, we're changing our prolonged field care kind of parameters because of this situation awareness where you can't go out because drones are going to kill you. That's a resilient thing. And so one of the things that we as medical providers are trying to wrap our head around is this overall resilience that's coming out of Ukraine. As Travis said, your guys are warriors for doing that. How can we help you? How can we help change that mindset, innovating across the spectrum? We're doing a training, but understanding tourniquets for 33 hours, that's inefficient training. We got to do better from that standpoint. So, very difficult question, I know.
So in summary, the question is, how do we support with resilience? My opinion, we got nothing to teach when it comes to that to the Ukrainians, but I like that to open it up to whoever wants to answer the question.
Resilience, you mean resistance, yeah? You hear?
Yeah, that works.
You mean psychological resistance of the staff?
Yeah, it's something that you can teach us.
Are you hear me?
Well as,
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It's first of all, it depends of the level, of the level of the staff. When you're speaking about the doctors and nurses who are involved in operations in the level like stabilization point, forward surgical team or hospital, the psychological support and resistance of this group is based in what? That they understand that are some peoples who are in more worse conditions than them, and with that we don't have a big problem. I cannot say that. It's just the question of the leadership of the chef of the group to detect the people who may be tired, but we have enough resource for change them, for provide the rotation in the level where is involved the staff, doctors and nurses. We don't count about the special operation forces groups which can work directly in the area of battlefield. When we speak about the combat medics and the simple stuff and about their mental health and resistance, it's very hard. Look, when you expose it to the death and directly ends the battlefield, people change total. And it's impossible practically to create the situation during the training for extract the mask of the people and understand what he will be do inside the operational theater, yeah? But one of the important ways how we resolve this problem, this is the leadership of the commanders. It means the guy, also any type of the special operation force, using the mentality. Every guy who is involved in operation know that he will be extracted from the area with any monies or any in any time, yeah? This is very important, that the people who moves forward, yes, I say, well, they must know that somebody is covering them. This is the most important, I think, how to say, most important way in which we can go.
And it's perhaps cognizant to realize that the Ukrainians are extracting their casualties because they value their people. But for the opposite side, it's better they're dead because they don't talk when they go home and spread dissent. And it's harsh to say, but that's the reality of the situation. So the Russians are less focused on extracting their casualties because they don't want them to be going home and talking about the millions of Russians that have been spent on this invasion.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Yeah, it's all about hope. Next question. I think we've got time for one more, yeah? Yes?
It's a comment, but I'm going to disguise it as a question, but I hope it's helpful. Is it true to say, Luca, that we would love introductions from the audience to wealthy individuals who might be interested in funding this, any amount of money? And particularly, we discussed yesterday, corporates either have an interest in, spreading the word to the medical community, or perhaps corporates who are interested either now or in the future in doing business in Ukraine. We can do an awful lot to help them in return for money, which would either help with this training or help purchase fixators. Is that true to say?
In essence, yes. In essence, yes. I was going to do it at the end, but I'd like to introduce you to also Peter Wilson and Rebecca. They are here. They're our trustees. They're two of our trustees, and they've been involved with us since day one. Actually, Peter was on a very, very first convoy in February 2022 as one of the drivers. Thank you very much, guys. And yes, whatever Peter said is a big yes. No, thank you. The last question. I know Pete could have been the last question, but let's have another question, and then we do the last question. Anybody? There was someone at the end, actually, before. You choose. Go. Go. We're not going to be able to do them all. We will be around for a little bit longer, so that's why I also pointed out everybody. Come and see us, and we will answer all the other questions. So who's
yeah, sorry.
There you go. Thank you.
A question for Ronan. You mentioned you've got 2 Role 4 hospitals. That surely hasn't got the capacity to deal with this. And have you got any rehabilitation assets or facilities? What do you do when you get to the back door of the Role 4 and you've got all that rehabilitation to deal with?
Yeah,
Rehabilitation.
How we provide the rehabilitation?
Yeah.
The rehabilitation is also provided, but look, the question of military medicine is, first law of military medicine is turn to soldier to the duty. When you cannot turn the soldier to the duty, it's the military medicine finish in this area. It means we provide the rehabilitation for like a military community, like a military organization. We provide the psychological support, mental health, and very simple rehabilitation for the patients who can who can turn to the duty. Yeah? But if we're speaking about the patients who are amputants and they need months of rehabilitation, this is in case of civilian medicine, because they will be also rehabilitated by the regions of Ukraine, which is situated hundreds of the kilometers of the operational area. And it is not needed to maintain some military hospital outside of the operational area. Sorry, but question economically. Paying some military staff who will be in near 500 or 700 of kilometers. For that, it's more the question of the civilians. They provide the rehabilitation. We have many types of the NGOs. We have Minister of Veterans, big quantity of the external monies which are involved in rehabilitation. All the countries try to cover each other hospital, rehabilitation center, because this is hundreds, thousands of the casualties. Look, in my area I cannot say you exact number, but this is hundreds of the people per day, casualties, injuries, sorry.
And that's only your area.
Yeah.
That's only your area.
I think that adds to that moral component of knowing that behind you there's a complete medical chain, including when you get no longer able to serve with the military. It's part of that support mechanism, isn't it?
Sorry, can you repeat maybe?
Yeah,
so even though you're relying on civilian hospitals, the soldiers need to know that their medical support just doesn't stop.
So it doesn't. So there is systems in place, but that's not something that actually Roman, or to be fair, the military look into. But the WHO, and I don't know if anyone from is been on the ground very, very early. There has been there are some big rehabilitation centers in which soldiers get sent to. I believe UKMed has been involved as well. So there are systems in places. Are they good enough? We can debate that all day, but there is. I don't think that's their focus at the moment. Unfortunately, it should be, but I don't think we're there yet.
Thank you.
Yes, go on.
There is international charities such as Superhumans. You may have heard of Superhumans charity, who have set up specific rehabilitation for amputees, and they have a big centre in Lviv. And Superhumans, I believe, is sponsored by international donors, and they are building satellite hospitals all around Ukraine, including in Dnipro. So things are evolving. And the bizarre thing is that this is a circle going all the way around, because after the Second World War, Ukraine had a full complement of rehabilitation and rehab hospitals to deal with the casualties from the Second World War. And a lot of those hospitals are physically still standing, but they've been repurposed. So it's, yeah.
We need to go on to the closing session. Yeah.
But
The innovation that has been done in rehabilitation that Steve Munyan has witnessed, extraordinary. So the innovation on the battlefield, but also the innovation in rehabilitation and statics is going on.
It's changing the world.
Yeah, we're sorry that 1 hour was obviously not good enough for this. We could be here all day. Please come and see us. We can discuss it further. We're going to be around. But all I want, if it's possible, is a round of applause for our panel. Thank you, Roman. Thank you. It's a touchy subject. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.